May not be the most interesting to some, but it's when 1 in 5 Americans own cryptocurrency, it's certainly important. So I'll probably be talking about this issue several more times on this floor, but as the Senate moves forward with our digital assets market structure legislation, I hope we'll move it quickly, but I hope we'll move deliberately. I hope we'll take the time to hold the hearings, and again, I think it's going to take more than one hearing.
Welcome back to Hot News Today. Today, I'm diving into the Senate floor drama, where Senator John Kennedy just dropped a message every crypto investor needs to hear.
Mr. President, with me today is one of my colleagues from my office, Mr. Will Petrie, who has helped me immensely on this issue. I want to talk just for a few minutes, Mr. President, about digital assets. Some people refer to them as crypto or cryptocurrency. The Senate Banking Committee is in the process, as we should be, of considering market structure legislation for digital assets or for Bitcoin, for crypto. And it's important because there's an enormous amount of confusion out there. I remember when blockchain technology started, many of us do. Today, 1 in 5 Americans own cryptocurrency. Its growth has been nothing short of breathtaking. But as oftentimes happens when you have an innovation, it creates enormous confusion on the way that the subject of that innovation integrates with the federal government. And that's the case here. Those who are in the cryptocurrency business and in the blockchain technology business don't know who to talk to in the federal government. The Securities and Exchange Commission has announced under President Biden that it has jurisdiction over digital assets, and so did the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC. And there's been a lot of litigation, and there have been a lot of court cases, and it's been enormously confusing. And those in the crypto business, understandably, have the reaction: look, we don't mind being regulated. We have nothing to hide, but we'd like to know who to talk to. Is it the CFTC? Is it the SEC? What do we do?
Kennedy's urging Congress to move deliberately on the crypto market structure bill, a decision that could define how digital assets are handled in America for years. So what's Kennedy really saying? First off, he's not dismissing crypto. In fact, he's giving a shout out to his staffer, Will Petrie, for navigating the wild world of digital assets. Kennedy calls the current scene enormously confusing. Why? Because both the SEC and the CFTC want to regulate crypto, but neither wants to share. That means businesses are left guessing. Who's the boss?
And that's why we need legislation. That's why we need market structure legislation, not because government needs to stick its nose in everything, but because there has to be some certainty here. Clearly, there's a turf war between the CFTC and the SEC, and it's Congress's role to delineate who has jurisdiction over what. Now, we did pass one piece of what you might call crypto legislation. We passed the Genius Act, as you know, Mr. President. That was an important piece of legislation, but it really was just a baby step. It regulates stable coins, which is only one part of the digital assets business. I'm certainly not denigrating the effort. I voted for the bill. I sit on the Banking Committee. The Congress passed the bill. It's a good bill. It was necessary. I congratulate everybody who worked so hard on it. But it's only a small portion of the digital assets market. Now we need to turn to the rest. And the House has already acted. The House has passed a bill called the Clarity Act, which does just what I've been talking about, providing some market structure legislation for the crypto industry, the digital assets industry. But the Senate, this is above my pay grade, but the Senate has not decided not to take up the Clarity Act. I don't know that it's been decided definitively, because obviously if enough senators want to, we can take up anything we want to take up. But the thinking seems to be that the Senate needs to start over and draft our own digital assets market structure bill.
Kennedy's message is simple. Crypto companies aren't anti-regulation. They just want to know whose rules to follow. Congress needs to act, not to kill innovation, but to bring some actual clarity. he points out the Senate has only lightly touched the issue, with the Genius Act focusing just on stablecoins. The House, meanwhile, passed the Clarity Act, aiming to nail down crypto's legal status. But the Senate? Still figuring it out, with more hearings ahead.
That complements the Clarity Act, which is already passed by the House. The Banking Committee, chaired by our very able Chairman Tim Scott, is going to be taking up this legislation soon. It's got to be written first. It's still being written. We need to hold hearings. This is a complicated piece of legislation. I've spent a lot of time on it, and it's one of the most complicated pieces of legislation I've ever seen. This is just one person's opinion. As a member of banking, I think it's going to take at least 2 hearings for us to be able to understand the pros and the cons of this legislation and understand the legislation itself. We have to be sure in this legislation, given that 1 in 5 Americans own cryptocurrency, we have to make sure in this legislation, Mr. President, that we're striking the right balance in jurisdiction between the CFTC and the SEC. We have to make sure in this legislation that we're coordinating closely with another Senate committee, the Senate Agriculture Committee, because it has jurisdiction of the CFTC and will play just as important, if not a more important role in this legislation as the Banking Committee. We're going to have to address in this legislation some concerns of the banking community. The banking community, after we passed the Genius Act, remember the Genius Act was just about stable coins. The Banking Committee is arguing the banking community, our banks, are arguing very persuasively that there were some mistakes made in the Genius Act, which, as I just said, regulates stable coins. Frankly, I don't know if that's accurate or not. That's what we need a hearing for, but I think the banking community needs to be heard on this issue. If we did make some mistakes, I'm sorry, Mr. President. If we did make some mistakes in the Genius Act with respect to American banks, I want us to correct it. I'm not saying we did or we didn't. I've heard both sides of the argument. But my point is that we're going to have to take up that issue as well in the hearing, because the banking community would like us to amend the larger digital asset market structure legislation to accommodate their concerns about the mistakes, if any, that we made in the Genius Act.
Kennedy isn't sugarcoating it. The issues are complicated. There's a turf war between agencies, concerns from the banking sector, and even new questions around tokenized securities. Plus, the big one, should deposit insurance protect your crypto? And should crypto brokers be held to the same standards as Wall Street? Kennedy says these aren't questions you answer overnight. His bottom line, move fast, but don't break things. When 1 in 5 Americans own crypto, getting it wrong isn't an option.
These issues I'm addressing are illustrative. They're not exhaustive. But we also need to address the issue of what, if any, fiduciary responsibility those who participate in the digital assets markets have. I'm talking about commodity brokers. Digital commodity brokers. I'm talking about digital commodity dealers. Should they have a fiduciary obligation to their customers, to their clients? I'm talking about the digital commodity exchanges. What should their duty to their clients be? Should it be a fiduciary obligation? Should it be something less? These are weighty issues. These are important issues. These are not issues that you raise and solve over a weekend. But I wanted to start talking about this bill, Mr. President, because it's one of the most important pieces of legislation that this body will consider. It may not be the sexiest, it may not be the most interesting to some, but it's when 1 in 5 Americans own cryptocurrency, it's certainly important.
So, if you care about your digital assets and the future of crypto regulation, hit that like button and subscribe. This debate is only just getting started. Stay tuned for more from Capitol Hill, only on Hot News Today.